Yeah.
in the best possible way.
Yeah. Well.
Did you see the video?
Oh yeah, I did.
What'd you think?
I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
cool.
thought it was fun. Tim Lane, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you videoing or are you?
Yeah, I'm just shooting raw stuff.
Right.
So there we go.
Okay. So so those lawn ornaments also have translated into these dioramas, these small dioramas. Now, in a perfect world, what I'd love to do someday is actually have these whole dioramas made into life-size pieces. But for the time being, this is what they are. For the Steve McQueen book, I plan on making diagrams for actual models. Like if you've ever owned any of those Aurora models, like the Jekyll and Hyde models, or like when I was growing up, they had Cro-Magnon Man or the Neanderthal Man in his own environment. They also had James Bond models with these entire scenes. Well, I'm going to create those as sort of ways to break up the book in a kind of pop culture sort of way. That would also be, I think, indicative of the time period in which he was active working, as I think there's some crossover there. Whether or not those models will ever be made into real models, I highly doubt. But if anybody ever wanted to, they would have the diagrams on how to build them. Okay, so we rolling?
Yeah.
Okay, so here are they're actually Mobius. This isn't the original manufacturer of these, but so they have these. When you got these models, here's the box. And here are all these great pieces. But you'd get these diagrams on how to build them. And this is the kind of thing I want to do, maybe like a 2-page spread. Like imagine here's the book, a short story, and then breaking up that short story would be, this diagram for a Steve McQueen kind of scene. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah. Shoot.
Okay. So when I first started working on the Steve McQueen project, I wanted to have a bust of Steve McQueen, so that at first it was originally purely a technical thing. I wanted to have a 3-dimensional image of at least his head, so that I could. Now I'm going to be very careful here. So that if you'll notice, I can change the lighting, and so I can create all these kind of interesting, moods based on light. Just take one, put it up like that. All this kind of stuff. But what I didn't get around to was having it plastered. So it eventually, the neck broke, and so I'm going to have to repair it. But I just thought, that might be interesting for you to know that, this is part of the process of drawing for me, is to have actually, to have it doesn't have to look exactly like him. That's my that's my apologetics. It doesn't have to look exactly like him, but enough so that I can play with this lighting and get different effects and use that in my drawing. So what I'll do is I'll set the lighting up, take a photograph of it, and then print that photograph out and use that photo reference with that lighting that I've created to draw the image in the caption. But anyway, this needs to be fixed. What was interesting, though, also, is that it was the first thing that I did. Well, it was about the second thing that I actually did that directly related to trying to recreate Steve McQueen. And I found that beyond just a technical thing, it was also a kind of way to spiritually get into the project, kind of familiarizing myself with the actor, who I've done a terrible job of, ruining by having it fall. Anyway, I thought I'd show you that. So, all of the collected material, all of the little notebook stuff that I've jotted down, all the stuff I've typed up, I've collected that relates directly to Steve McQueen and the Steve McQueen project. I've collected in these folders. This one deals mainly with the actual stories as they're starting to work themselves out. As you can see, a fair amount of these are already typed up, and in some cases, what I'm doing, the book sort of builds itself by, once I get the stories finished, I start to put them in, not necessarily in any particular sequence, but I'm just putting them into this 3-ring binder so that so I can start seeing the book develop and start feeling like which stories should go next to one another and that kind of thing. But so this you could think of as sort of the slightly more completed stage of the book. All of this is the very rough stuff. Notes that I've written, drawings, this kind of stuff. This relates directly to a story that I'm working on, which actually had its origins in this sketchbook. A little out of sequence. Yeah. Maybe there's your brother's thing. So, like, kind of begins in a sketchbook like that. I broke it up. As we get to know each other better, this is going to start making more sense in terms of a story. I'm trying to play with an original or a unique way to deal with Claude Thompson, who was Steve McQueen's great uncle and was the man who essentially raised Steve McQueen. He had he's worthy of a book. A very interesting and kind of charismatic and enigmatic guy. So anyway, I would say that that's a pretty good beginning for this portion, and it's been wonderful getting to talk to you a little bit about what I do and how I do it, and I look forward to more of this sort of thing.